Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to our session today. To get us started, how we're thinking about the session is meant to bring us together and talk about what is required to bring on-chain payments to everyone. Right now, we can use them. We have the Base app. We're crypto familiar. That's why we're here. But not everyone in the world is on-chain yet. So what does that gap look like? And so to start, we want to just orient people on why on-chain payments matter, what the history of the space has been like, what solutions we offer today and what we're trying to do right now to bring the world on-chain, and really orient the most of the time, though, about where we're going. What are the things that we still need to solve? And that actually largely is informed by you, the builders. Whatever problems you're facing on your frontier, how you want to accept payments for your app. We want to have those discussions and learn from you as much as you're learning from us. Hopefully we learn a lot more from you, but that's what we have in mind for today. Hope that's of interest. So the first step, why are we on-chain at all? On-chain is useful for a lot of things, specifically for payments. These are the 4 characteristics we think are most important. The first would be faster. So when you transact on-chain, you're not using old legacy cruft of spreadsheets and bank tellers, et cetera. It's on software native, and it's on a distributed ledger. So when you transact on-chain, you get faster payments. On Base, that's as fast as 200 milliseconds. You don't need to wait for end-of-day payments for credit cards or the concept of business days in the traditional payments world. Payments on-chain are also cheaper. With Base, you don't pay any fee that scales with a payment. You pay a transaction fee that's the same that everyone else is trying to submit transactions for, whether they're buying an NFT, a content coin, or doing something else entirely. So Base transactions right now, we're proud to say that our median fee is less than 1 cent. This is, you'd say, an order of magnitude cheaper than credit cards, which default charge 30 cents plus some percentage-based things like 30 cents and 3%. On Base, it's just simply less than a cent flat. On-chain payments are also global. You don't just have to work within the SWIFT or the US bank system. Everything is connected to the same distributed ledger, and you can access it anywhere with an internet connection. This is important not just for interconnectivity, but really allowing people to access the same global economy, right? So I can buy things in America as an American, I can buy things in Europe as a European, but if I'm in a place that's not connected to those real financial hubs, I don't have access to the same products and opportunities as those people. Within global, it's not just making it possible to buy those things, but I'm getting access to the same network that everyone else is playing in. It's a more positive sum game for everyone, hopefully. And then the final piece is composable. This is new tech, and the data is public, and the standards are open. It's encouraging for people to build on a shared layer, and we can move faster together. And so composability could be as simple as we're just looking at the same event feed of all the transactions that are coming in and share that more easily. It could also mean we're building new on-chain primitives that allow me to embed payments with other important actions I want to do, such as rewards or attribution or other things of that nature. So let's talk a little bit about where we've been. What is the history of on-chain payments? And there's so many things that have happened, but we boiled them down into 5 key phases or events, really. The first really starts with the stablecoin, USDC. And it was not the first stablecoin, but we think it's the most important for realizing on-chain payments in this time period because it's the first one that's demonstrated reliability over multiple market cycles and has always been a compliant first option spearheading in the US markets. And so compliance is also really important because that's what's blocking a lot of traditional institutions from onboarding to stables as well. The next thing that happened is Base, or L2s as a broad movement on the EVM. Cheap, fast block space actually make the transaction fees cheaper than traditional networks. The smart wallet was our approach to enabling safe, easy, and a web-native account. And that web-native, it's actually kind of subtle, but it's funny enough for the Shopify, the next big mark here, it was actually a critical piece in what led Shopify to want to go on-chain finally. There was access to stablecoins that people would want to accept versus Bitcoin or other esoteric currencies. The block space was cheap enough, users would be able to access it, but they could access it on a web-native interface, which is a large portion of where payments come in today. And so Shopify being the 4th key pillar here, it's our first step in global merchant distribution. Payments are inherently a network. It has the same cold start problems as other networks like social apps. If I have USDC, that's great, but if I can't buy it at my local coffee shop, I can't buy it when I buy goods online, it's not that helpful of a payment system, actually. So for us bootstrapping the network, Shopify is actually the single largest payment orchestrator involved in that flow that we could possibly onboard. So to have them on-chain is also a key step here. And then finally, the Base app, most recently. We're bootstrapping the merchant side, we're trying to bootstrap now the consumer side. And we think the best way to bring consumers on-chain is through viral social experiences. And that's why we've leaned so heavily into the Base app and social. Next, to cover a little bit about where we are. How are we actually empowering on-chain payments today? And we've split this down into 2 different personas for you in the audience. Either we're going to categorize you as like a business, you're just trying to sell things online, on-chain, and you want to get paid. and developers who are building products maybe for themselves or for others. So for businesses, we have three main ways we've observed people accepting on-chain payments so far. The simplest is actually just using the Base app. So this is really great for cash-heavy businesses. If you've ever been to maybe your hairstylist or a cafe and they accept Venmo or they accept cash, we want to be a place to insert Base app as well as another payment method where I can just install an app, I don't have to do any KYC, and I can carry that money with me wherever I go. I can connect it to my Coinbase account and off-ramp or do any other things I want with it. The next key thing we're seeing is Shopify, of course. This is the end-to-end merchant solution. It's super powered. It has all the inventory management, the distribution of like a website, and then it also has easy ways to build my storefront and try to convert users, offer promos, etc., and tap into the ecosystem of other apps too. And then finally, Coinbase Business is a new venture within Coinbase. It's in private beta right now, but it's your complete on-chain business experience. So you can hold stables, you can easily on and off ramp with your connected bank account, but you can also buy and trade crypto. You can build your own Bitcoin reserve in your mom and pop shop now. It's a crazy thing. And you can do more future of on-chain payment things. So for example, I used to run a software company. We wouldn't sell any goods, but we would sell invoices effectively, where we would use Stripe to say, ask my customers for my monthly payment. I can do that on Coinbase Business with a payment link solution. For developers, we have three key offerings emerging right now. The first, and the one we'll talk about most today, is called BasePay, and the SDK that makes simple payments possible on any application. It's only one payment option. It uses the Base account that's powering the Base app. But the simplicity, we think, brings a lot of clarity for users, and it's the fastest experience because of that. Second thing we have to offer is Coinbase Developer Platform. We have some members from CDP here at BaseCamp, and it's giving you the full wallet compatibility. You get a full picker, Wallet Connect connects you to hundreds of other wallets, and it's also an API-driven processing solution. So that way you can combine a lot of other things you're doing server-side with your application that is a more powerful and robust platform. And then finally, the Commerce Protocol. This is actually what's backing Shopify's on-chain payments right now. It's new smart contracts that are permissionless, immutable, and extensible that allow anyone to directly facilitate on-chain payments with anything else they want to do on-chain. So it's the most customized and advanced solution we have today. And if you have questions about it, I'm here as the author to help address them. Now we want to talk about BasePay. What does this premier solution look like to actually bring consumers on board? And here we have Arjun, one of the developers.
All right, let's talk about BasePay. So BasePay is the fastest way to pay with USDC for pretty much anything on the web, from digital services to subscriptions to even real-life things from Shopify, for example. BasePay lets you check out directly with your Base account in just one click without having to do any of the wallet connection stuff. And as a developer using the BasePay SDK, you can add it to your store in just a few lines of code, and we will be showing you that a little bit later. Back to Connor for BasePay for consumers.
So why do consumers care about BasePay? They could choose to pay with anything in the future. Right now they have credit cards or Apple Pay. Why as a consumer would I choose something else? We have three things that we're trying to lean into right now. First, it has to be seamless. The standard is so high. Apple Pay is just double click, scan my face, and I'm done. That is the bar we're aiming for, and we're not exactly there yet, but we're pretty close. We also use passkeys, so we hook into Face ID natively. And within crypto, it is really the fastest payment experience. There's no connection and then a payment. I don't have to click more than once. And I'm only shown exactly what I need to see. I don't have a concept of gas. I don't have a concept of other tokens other than the one I'm paying with, which is the dollar. And so we think that getting out of the way of users completing their payment is a principle that'll keep us on the path towards competing truly with existing payment solutions. The second is that it's limitless. This is where we really diverge from the status quo. There's no minimum or maximum value you can send in a payment. This is different than today, where when I go to the gas station, I just want to buy a stick of gum. I have to buy a drink and two other things just to get the credit card fee to be worthwhile for the merchant. We don't have that anymore. Similarly, for maximum payments, when I try to pay rent, I have to send a few $1,000s. I can't do that from my bank. I'm limited at $500 a day. And I have money, so I'm like, why do I have to do this? The money is not really mine if I can't use it freely. And so removing those restrictions is a key part of why we think people want to be on-chain and want to have self-custody. And then third, it's global. So when I travel, it's way easier for me to swap in the Base app and get my currency without avoiding the atrocious fees at the airport or elsewhere. So I can natively pay people across the world more easily if I have family who do not live in the States. And so that global connection is also about building the global economy. So why do we think businesses will want BasePay? Simply, they just earn more and they get paid faster. Very easy. I earn more because I don't have as many fees coming into taking a whole lot of my business. I think this is actually very pronounced for businesses that are low margin. So as an example, let's say my business operates at a 10% margin. If I pay 1% less on fees on my revenue, I actually take home 10% more in profits. There's a big multiplier there. And so for businesses like restaurants that are very low margin, this actually has way more potential to easily put pockets back into the people creating value. Second, I get paid faster. In the traditional commerce world, there are things like chargebacks and cash flow issues that make it actually an impediment for me as a business to operate if I'm not getting my money when I need it. So by having instant settlement and avoiding mechanisms like chargebacks, we actually put a lot of power back into merchants to get paid when they need to get paid.
And now for developers, BasePay allows you to accept stablecoins by default. So all transactions through BasePay are using USDC for both the users and the merchants. And we have a premier user experience as well with just one click and no complicated user flows. It's also a very fast integration. So when you're using the BasePay SDK, as I said before, it's just a few lines of code. There's no confusing API keys or any wallet connections you have to deal with. And then finally, BasePay is feature complete. So not only can you accept simple USDC payments, but you can also accept subscriptions, and also you can get user information, and you can use embedded on-ramps.
So let's talk a little bit about where we're going. BasePay is feature complete, but it's not the most complete it could be. We have lots of things to do still. Lots of things you're probably aware of if you've used BasePay and other crypto apps in the past. So this is just a short list of things that came to mind, but point of sale is a big thing to bring payments into the real world. We don't really have the tap-to-pay experience that we want. Local stablecoins, we have USDC, but we don't have the long tail of everyone else who exists in the world who doesn't transact on the dollar. Off-ramping is still maybe a problem for some merchants. They have to onboard to another solution. BasePay itself is a consumer product. We still need to pair it with something else. Privacy, everything is still on chain and using ERC20 transfers. You can see where the money is coming from and going to, and there are some clever tricks we can do to obscure that, but there's still a lot more privacy work to be done compared to off-chain payments. Rewards and affiliates, how do we actually make this economy work for everyone? Not just the buyer and the merchant, but other people are involved in making sure things get bought. Influencers on social media will have relationships with merchants to direct traffic to their store. How do we recreate those mechanisms in a way that maintain the properties of cheap and fast and globally accessible? And then finally, verified identity. How do we actually know who we're transacting with? How do we know that they're people that we want to be on our stores or buying from us? A lot of work to be done, but that concludes the presentation component, so thank you.